Hello there! This is DBT and these are the Rooms. And today we're doing something different. With the impending arrival of Asphalt Legends Unite, a new map comes, Singapore. And I've already given you my first impressions based on the video that Gameloft made available. If you want to watch that, the link is appearing in the top right about now. However, I am not from Singapore. I know very little about the place, so what I was able to say about it were just my guesses. And yet, my friend Pixo, whom you may know from my Discord server, the House of Rooms, link is in the description, he actually lives in Singapore and he agreed to give me his thoughts on how close to reality Asphalt's version of the location is. And if I learned anything with this chat that we had, was that Singapore loves playing with water and light. So, let's get to it.
So yeah, I did have a look at your review on the new Singapore track, the My Hero Academia. Yeah, I did hear of Singapore's track being included in Asphalt Unite. I just didn't really think much of it because I had that period of time in my life where I was like, ooh, Singapore is showcased in games, so I'll just look it up there. And yeah, it's kind of the... unfortunately, it's the same thing over and over again, but it actually looks good in this one, honestly. Just looking at this intro title card, it just really, in a sense, captured what I see in every other game that showcases Singapore.
So you would say that this is the most common thing that they would display, like, oh, this is Singapore.
The thing about this is that Singapore is mostly tourism driven. If I were to just search up Singapore, usually the images you would find would be like these. It's exactly almost like what you see in like Asphalt 9 Legends. Okay, so first of all, I think the one thing that drags away from my whole experience being in Singapore is this amusement park, because I'll be honest, yeah, I don't think they have attractions this close by, I'll be honest. It just seems like a hazard. I'll talk about this wheel later on, but the most on-point thing so far is this roller coaster, because goddamn, this is by far one of the most interesting-looking bits of Universal Studios, like that sprawling red and blue.
Wow.
So this is usually one of like the larger things you see upon arriving in Universal Studios.
All right, yeah.
Yeah, there we go. This is a much better photo of it. You can just look at the huge, like, winding structure, and I thought that, yeah, this was quite reminiscent of it, although a bit long.
Yeah, that is one thing that I was thinking, that probably it's not like a perfect replica of things, because I imagine if they did something like that, they would need to pay some sort of licensing to Universal to like, oh, we're actually using your design of this thing. So they're like, nah, let's just make whatever so that it kind of resembles it without actually being the thing.
This, I have to say, is very accurate. I know the trees aren't exactly the same, but what fascinated me was, ironically, the flooring. The name of the place itself is Gardens by the Bay, so there will be that. It's just essentially a very, very fancy botanical garden. So here we have like the photo of the super trees. As you can see, it's not... I'm not going to lie, I like this version better. It's more organic. It doesn't look as, as... man, this looks more like fungi than trees. This do actually... if you can... Yeah. As you can see on the ground here, they do actually have those kind of tiled circles around them, and then the differentiating black ground, which you can see over here, the tiled
right
bits.
Okay.
And I'll be honest, every time I've come here, you have no idea how badly I want to drive a mini kart or a go-kart around this thing, because goddamn, it is quite nice. I'm glad that they included this bridge as well, which is a very nice detail, although again they did it better here because it's a game, it's usually easier. So over here is what they call the Sky Bridge, if I'm not mistaken. So as you can see here, there's also a suspending bridge that connects between super trees. So that's what they call Sky Bridge, if I'm not... Am I right? Hold on, let me look it up before I anger any other Singaporeans out there. Okay. Oh, Skyway, sorry, Skyway, because that is a completely normal way of naming things.
Absolutely.
I get a bit pissed off with how they name things sometimes. But yeah, what I notice is the fact that there's vegetation hanging down here. I think that's cool. They don't have that in here, obviously, for safety reasons. But these lights, they are quite on point. Although, if there's one thing that it detracts away from actually Singapore, is the scale of it. It's usually much larger.
That's what I was noticing, yeah, because when I saw the pictures of the real ones, I'm like, those look absolutely ginormous. The ones in the game don't seem to be that big.
Yeah, that's one like part that I was like, oh, that's a shame that they didn't manage to capture the absolute scale that is being within this like massive steel structures and being surrounded by these tall lights and stuff. But for some things, for a place where you're driving around fast and not being able to see much of it, like when you're just zooming past a place and you can't take the time to admire it, I think the way they execute it here is good. Though I am interested to see if they do change the lighting here. I'm not sure if they did in this video, but there is I do believe that they have a light show here for this part. So I think once a week or something, or I believe it is once a week, they will have a light show.
Well, they didn't show anything like that in this video, but I think that would be something really cool to see if they were to at least do something, obviously not to the same scale, but something similar where, maybe in this particular version of the track, when you pass around here, it's going to be this kind of purplish light. But in another version of the track, maybe it's going to be a different color or something like that. I think that would also help to kind of, differentiate the track versions.
Yeah, as I rewatched the video, again, I'm curious, is this a tree or is this just a plant? I'm very confused.
I think that's just a plant, because, well, honestly, I don't know, but it does look to me like it's just a plant. I don't think that's meant to be a big tree or anything.
Because I'm looking at the proportion of these leaves, and yeah, no, my inner biology is tweaking, but yeah. Ooh, okay, this part. I got so caught off guard the moment this part showed up, because this is the Marina Bay Sands Hotel. More specifically, is the sort of receptionist area, the inside of the hotel itself. And if I'm gonna pull up a picture, here we go. You have that sort of tiered-looking architecture here as well. That's quite faithful, This especially, yes. You get to see the tier. Although, admittedly, the bottom here is a bit more narrow here, which is again, I wouldn't wanna drive a car here because of all the restaurants and stuff. I would wanna drive one here. Oh, and this lighting fixture over here, yeah, there's a mesh up here. That is actually the lighting fixture, and the fact that they managed to bring it in here, such a nice little detail as well.
So isn't it something that one would say it's iconic of that particular location, and they definitely managed to put it there to like, oh yeah, I've seen that.
Yeah, that's why I got so caught off guard, because the tiered structure, this mesh of a lighting, and now the ability to drive through it, I guess, is just fascinating to me. This Ferris wheel is very amusement-like, as you pointed out, and you did mention in your video that Singapore has this large Ferris wheel of their own. It's essentially, I think the London Eye is pretty iconic, but I believe Singapore's is bigger. This is our version of the London Eye. It is the Singapore Flyer.
Damn. Yeah, that looks massive.
Yeah, it is huge. Like, you can see it towering over the skyscrapers and everything. It is, yeah, you can see it. This is the super tree.
Holy.
And this is the Singapore Flyer.
Holy mother. Yeah, I had seen the pictures, but now that you point the trees, I'm like, holy, I did not notice that. Jesus Christ. So would you say that's like twice as big, probably? As tall?
I give 2.5. It is massive. And especially when I ride my bike around Singapore just to exercise a bit, I do come across this racetrack a bit. And man, just looking at this structure from below is terrifying yet amazing. Essentially, when you reach the top, you'll be able to get this huge 360 view of this entire area. And it is brilliant. Though, as a Singaporean, having gone up it about 2 or 3 times, I've already got bored, so yeah. So, my main issue here with this is that I get that they're trying to replicate the Singapore Flyer. Why put it in an amusement park? The Singapore Flyer is a standalone attraction by itself, and if you're asking me for Ferris wheel rides on in Singapore, well, anywhere really, they're flipping tiny. You can see like the carts. The most obvious sign would be the cabins here. You can see Singapore's has numerous amounts spaced out between them, and here they only have these sparse, like huge spaces, and yeah, that was kind of a shame. I think it's fine in the context of an amusement park, but still, it's just it's the inner patriotism in me going, no, don't do that.
You did it wrong.
It's like, I see what you're trying to do. What a shame the legal implications you're gonna have to go through to do that. But damn, that is not the Singapore Flyer. That is not as cute. It's like a stuck in between a cheap, rickety amusement park Ferris wheel and this huge, ginormous, national icon. But in your video, I mentioned a place called Sentosa. It's this thing over here. So it's our own resort in a sense. So we have attractions here. Oh yeah, there you have a Merlion. I'm saying a Merlion because Singapore has many Merlions. I'll talk about that later.
Oh.
So I've yet to take a closer look at this thing because from just looking at it, my eyes kind of hurt because the thing about the Merlion, as you can see here, the proportions are kind of more capsule-like. It's more like you have one sphere here, one sphere down there, and just one connecting bit over here. It's more cylindrical in shape. And then you look at that, and I'm like, huh.
Look, I didn't want to sound disrespectful or anything, but that rendition in Asphalt 9, I saw something else, I saw the head of the lion, I saw some hands holding something, I don't know, I was like, ooh, I don't know what to make of that.
Right. Yeah, and me looking at that, I'm like, ooh, what happened? Like, you have this, okay, no hate to Singapore, but this looks a bit bland, but still, it is an icon of ours that is, iconic. And you have that, you know what that reminds me of? For those who don't know, I'm Chinese, but we have these typical Chinese lion statues. It looks like they just put that on the Merlion.
The style of lion, yes.
Yes, the more like gilded locks and whatnot onto there. Meanwhile, you have the normal Merlion that is just this straight.
So when I was looking up information about the Merlion, because I'm like, what is that? So I did, was looking around. And once I saw the Merlion that you just showed, I'm like, yeah, I could see perhaps that's what they were trying to do. But I could tell indeed that it was a different shape, like a different feeling, a different style. Like, when someone makes a cover of a song, but in a different genre, that's what that felt to me. And I was like, that's weird. So what I did was look up Merlion old statues to see if I could find like older versions of the Merlion. And I did find a couple that I'm like, okay, maybe that looks a little bit closer, but I didn't know even if they were the right ones or it was some render or something. So that was like, I think that's what this is.
As far as I know, when it comes to the Merlion statue, there are only the few of them. This is the closest thing that once. Oh, right, there we go. This is actually one of the photos I was looking for. As you can see, this version is a bit more. How do I put this? It's less cartoon-like. Like you can see, the features are more rounded out here. Over here, it's a bit more sharper and angular. And I believe this would be the closest thing as to what this is going for. But still, it is just an uncanny feeling like there's a pebble in your shoe. But the interesting thing about this that I find is that they chose to include the Sentosa version, so once again the resort version, and not the more iconic water spitting version. They could, I believe they could maybe just do like a water arc from here down there, but it's it's a shame they chose to include first, the way they modeled this as an inspiration, and the fact that they chose to include this version of the Merlion. I think it would be cool if they did the thing yet again with the lights, because this is Sentosa's version. As you can see, there's the terrifying lights and eyes and stuff. They turn it purple every now and then. They put lights on it every now and then. So I think it would be cool if they, did something like that with this rendition. Okay, so we have that. Oh, you mentioned this pink thing over here.
Yes.
So I'll be honest, I have never seen anything like that. If Singapore is planning on making a black hole generator, I will be very concerned. But
you mean a pink hole generator?
A pink hole generator, yes. Well, I mean, I don't know. Singapore likes to decorate its things with lights. Why not just stick a few pink lights in there while making a technical marvel? But this kind of brought up something in my mind that I realized, hey, it would be cool if, maybe they did include it or a rendition of it, I don't know, but it would be cool if they chose to do something like this. Because you know what this reminds me of? This reminds me of this thing.
Oh, wow.
Yep. So yet another iconic landmark in Singapore. It's called the Fountain of Wealth.
Wow.
Yep, it's a fountain. Yeah, lights and water. Singapore, this thing has. So I'll bring up the fact about lights and waters later. So I was looking at that. I was like, hey, I have never. There's probably just a random light fixture they decided to put, or it could be just a very far away call to this, especially to the Fountain of Wealth. And I was thinking, you look at it, it's a roundabout, it has roads, it looks very raceable, in my opinion at least. I would be very interested to see if they decided to put something like this here.
Oh, that would be absolutely beautiful if they did.
Right? Yeah. So once again, yes, racing through my childhood dream.
Oh, wait a second. Over there, you can see the size of the trees compared to the car. And I do believe they're not the little ones. They're not big trees, they're just plants. I think they're tiny.
Yeah, they look just about maybe twice. If I stack this car on top of itself, it looked just about that height. So yeah, I do believe, yet again, if they decided to scale this thing proportionately, like the super tree to make it huge, I don't think you'll be able to see the top of these lights at all. So I think maybe it's a good call they kept it at this height.
Honestly, well, at this point I'm nitpicking, but I do see how the massive scale of the real trees over there in Singapore must be what makes, well, along with obviously all the lights and whatnot, but the size of it is probably what gives you that impression of holy moly. So I think, in my personal opinion, the way they could have gone about this is make the trees ginormous, and like you said, you wouldn't be able to see them. But a good way to fix that is add a bunch of ramps and things like that, so that you have that moment where you're jumping really high and you're seeing the big trees and all of that. I think that would have been a fantastic thing to do there.
Okay, yep. You know what? That's cool. Now that you bring that up, that would be fantastic. And you know what would be special as well? I don't mind that, taking their artistic liberties anyway, but it would be cool if somehow they have the ramp that goes up and you can see all these trees. And you know that skyway I was talking about earlier?
Right.
Screw it, don't make it human walkable anymore. Make cars drive on it.
Oh.
Make the ramp land the cars on the thing and drive along it.
Oh yeah, that would be really dope to see.
I have a few theories as to what this round donut looking shape is at the front. I have a few guesses as to what that might be. It might just be a random restaurant / bar like they would have here, just perched at the end of the hotel. Or it could be there's this thing in Singapore where we have a sort of whirlpool basin. Just because we like to play with water yet again. And the whirlpool basin also has an underneath fountain with all of these shops and this central fountain over there. I was like, maybe this could be an above ground version, but again, it looks too small, so it's probably just a restaurant or something.
Alright.
So I would be interested to see. Yeah, I was thinking, because I could have sworn, again, this looks like the interior of the Marina Bay Sands Hotel. This looks like a reference of the Marina Bay Sands Hotel. Why is this here? if it's meant to be driven through, but I do believe in your video I made a comment about the structure, the shape of this thing, and how I believe it is a reference to here we go. How I believe it's a reference to the Marina Bay Sands Hotel. So if we look at the front profile of the Marina Bay Sands Hotel, we can see it is sort of this elongated fin shape as well.
Oh yeah.
and on top it is perched the ship. And I was thinking, it looks like they were trying to go for it, but exaggerated the features a lot more, and just only included one segment as opposed to the 3 segments we have here in Singapore.
There's no ship at the top.
Yeah, they can't. Yeah, I don't know where the ship went. It's another. If anyone gets the reference, it's another Half-Life Aurora Borealis moment. I guess it's an interesting take on how the hotel would look like. But yet again, I think they were spot on with the side profile, because as you can see, it is the fact that they are like the windows of the hotels itself, the individual hotel rooms light up. So I thought that looks cool. Okay, there's another bit over here, to the left side especially. I'm not sure, you can't exactly see it that well, I believe, but there is this sort of tiered structure. You can see like the roof is sort of, is there not a better angle of this? Whatever. But there's this sort of stepped roofing they have over here in a sort of curved shape. And I noted that it looked very similar to this. So it is yet again right beside the hotel itself, and it has this sort of tiered curve shape. Why are there so many balls in the water? My goodness. Oh, okay, no, I remember this now. Okay, yeah. Singapore playing with water yet again. These light up, I do believe. So it has this tiered curved shape looking thing. And I thought that, this was what I was going for. So this would be the shops at Marina Bay Sands. So this is where all of the fancy shops would be, your Louis Vuitton or your...
Actually, now that I see it with that picture that you have right now, it's as if the player was driving from the right side of the picture to the left side, in between the buildings, the tall buildings, and this structure that you're pointing at right now. Like if there was a space in between them. That's what it kind of feels like to me in terms of the video. Because if you go back to the video, you can actually, right there, you could kind of see through these 3 structures, right? On the right side.
Although I don't think it's
a road there in between them.
I think, as far as I know, it's not really a car drivable road. I think it is actually. And as you can see, it's also on point with the bridges here. You can see there's like bridges up here as well.
Yeah.
So it's quite nice.
All right, so I sent you a picture that I just, painted on.
Ooh.
What I'm seeing here is what I was saying, that I think I see the 3 structures of the hotel. That's why I put it with different colors. Like I see all 3, and on green on the left side, I see the thing that you were saying that is kind of curved. So I think we can see in the 3 separate sections of the 3 buildings that is the hotel.
Huh.
At least that's what that looks to me.
Actually, yeah, now that you mention it, I do notice this there's this obvious seam in between this front bit and this second bit. There's this seam over here.
Oh, right. And as it drives through, well, on the side, you will see the three sections. Just look, there's 1, 2, and 3.
Right. Oof, okay. Yeah. That might be my fault, because once again, I'm used to the huge spacing in between these structures as it is present in the original. But, actually, you know what? I initially thought it was just one of these.
So did I, but only now that you paused there, that's when I saw it, and I'm like, oh, wait a second. Could that be it?
I learned something new. Okay, that is amazing. Okay, at least they kept the 3 pillars. Now I'm not as pissed off. So, then I look at this and now I'm pissed off again. This reminds me more of the Sydney Opera House than it does of our Art Science Museum.
Oh, no, you're saying that it reminds you of this one, right?
This is Sydney Opera House.
Right. And that's the one you said that it reminds you more of?
Yeah. So if we go to, I'm not sure. This looks more longer than it would, but let me look up the Art Science Museum. If you looked up using the term flower, honestly, I think the architecture, they say it themselves that the architecture of the Art Science Museum is reminiscent of that of the flower. So I think if you do search up flower, actually let me try. There we go. Yeah. Inspired by Lotus Flower Art Science Museum. Yeah. So the Art Science Museum themselves.
Oh, wait a second. That picture, that one right there, the one that you had, that one. From that angle, it kind of resembles a tiny little bit the one that we see in game. A little bit more.
Oh yeah.
I mean, a
Well, I
little
guess we
bit.
have.
You're
A little
kind
bit,
of.
yeah. It's stretching. Maybe the sharp tips over there is really the main, like the main detracting part of
Right.
it. But yeah. Yet again, the scale is just screwing with me because yet again, as you can see, the shops to the side, and then there you have this huge flower, right?
Whoa, yeah.
And then you have the shops to the side, and then this.
But
thing.
you know what? Come to think about it, it kind of matches the location of the things.
Yeah, that's what I came to notice as well. Driving between I don't know why the dome is here, but driving between the hotel, the building here, and then up next comes the flower.
Yeah, kind of. I mean, like you said, it's a stretch, but it kind of works.
There's this bottom base here that I want to talk about. It's square. And I thought that the architecture here it's a bit more oriented. You get what I mean? It's more East Asian sort of building style. Again with this lotus, which is a very East Asian flower. Right, okay. There's this thing on the side that I'm noting here. I'm gonna need like a closer view. But from what I see here, this sort of winding looking thing, it's because it's quite far. I don't exactly know what I'm seeing.
Right.
But this brings me up to another attraction that I wish they put in, yet again, in this area near the hotel. We have this thing called a Helix bridge.
Oh.
So it is quite wide. I do believe you can fit a car down there. And again, it's quite near the hotel and all of this other stuff.
Right.
So I was wondering if that windy pattern thing that looks like it's just oscillating back and forth, if it's just a callback to the Helix bridge. This building over here, I do believe you got a bit confused by that, and I do believe I have my answer as to what I think it might be. It's just the placement of it that's a bit odd for me, but over here in Singapore, we have this building called the Marina Barrage. So as you can see, there's this helix sort of architecture to it, this sort of spiral downwards. Okay, you can see there's this sort of oval shape, and at one area here, the pillars here are taller than the area here.
Right.
So I do believe this is a slanted shape, and I do believe that this sort of more helix-like, again, I need a top view from it if I'm not mistaken, but this, in a sense, that is also sliding down, this sort of curvy looking area, just reminds me of the Marina Barrage. I think this might be the Marina Barrage. If anyone else thinks otherwise, feel free to correct me.
Yeah, no, I can see it. I could see it, yeah.
I'm not sure what to talk about in this tunnel because, as far as I know, I'm not sure what these things up here are.
Yeah, I thought for a second that maybe that was some sort of an iconic tunnel. But I looked up for tunnels of Singapore and that's so absolutely nothing that looked like that. I'm like, yeah, probably this is just made up.
Yet again, Singapore and its lights. Every now and then during festivals like Deepavali, Diwali, or Chinese New Year, Christmas, or Hari Raya for the Muslims out there, we adorn our streets with lights like this. And I was thinking, I do believe sometimes, what in the hell is going on here? My goodness, Singapore. But yeah, we do adorn our streets with lights like this, and I was thinking maybe this could be just a cheap callback, though yet again I have no idea what these are. Oh, okay, and here we are heading into the Sentosa bit, right? Okay. Once again, the detail that I noted is the flooring. You can see the more brick-like flooring over here if I bring up Universal Studios. But when looking for the this kind of flooring, I came across this part that I could have sworn had brick flooring, but now that I'm looking at it, it's just a road.
Right.
Oh wait, never mind. They do have brick. Is this Singapore? I don't think this is. Oh wait, no, this is Singapore, right? Yes. They do have brick flooring here. Okay, so I'm not misremembering. Cool. So you know how I was talking about these dirt mounds earlier?
Mm-hmm.
So when arriving in Sentosa, this bridge over here, you will see this sign perched on top of this sort of mountainous. And the thing about Sentosa, oh, here we go, that's a better photo. Sentosa really prides itself on using this sort of organic structures to make it look like a resort that's not just human, but in a sense, part of the world.
Right. Yeah.
So I was thinking that it just gives me flashbacks because who the hell puts, you know, dirt mounds and stuff in amusement park? Sentosa does. And then all of these rides. Okay, this thing up here. Here's the thing. I don't think that exists in Singapore. But I think this is just a callback to all of Singapore's ridiculous things that they do with fountains. So this was the world's largest indoor fountain for a while, Gardens by the Bay. So you can see this this waterfall, all of this mountain cascading. And then you have another dealie. So this is a newer edition. Well, relatively new. It was, I think, 2020 probably. I'm not sure. I may be confusing the years. But then this is our newest world's largest indoor fountain. And you can see the size of the people as compared to the size of the area. So Singapore and fountains, this thing. I was thinking this could just, you know what, this could just be a callback to these kind of very ridiculous water features. And I looked at the dolphins up ahead, and that reminded me of Dolphin Lagoon, right? Yeah, so we have a dolphin show in Singapore, I do believe. Okay. Never seen it myself, will probably see it sometime soon. So yeah, this is just these are just water slides. I think you can just find them in like most places. If I want to call this back to another quote-unquote tourist attraction in Singapore, we have the Wild Wild Wet, which is a huge huge water. Yep, the naming, right, is so creative. My goodness. Yeah, if I were to call back this sort of slide to something in Singapore that is more iconic, here as Wild Wild Wet. Okay, right here, this up over here. If I'm not mistaken, that could be, there's an F1 racetrack, that one I know for sure. There we go. So you can see like down here, there's the racing track down here.
Mm-hmm. Yes.
Over here we have the stepped audience seats, and then on the opposite side you have, I mean, this is quite common for like any racetrack anywhere really, but yeah, I guess they included our racetrack here. We have this thing called Chingay, which is a parade in Singapore, and yet again it's using those kind of stepped audience. It's just a festival here. I'm not sure what is up with the wave looking thing here. I'm assuming they're just trying to make fun of Singapore and its water again. And then you pointed out this building. I'll be honest, I don't really have any idea what it could be. The closest thing I could think of is Louis Vuitton in Singapore. So there's this slanted looking building shop for LV here in Singapore. And I was thinking, you know what, this is the closest thing I could think of to this sort of
I could see that, yeah.
So we go through, no idea what this is. I'm interested to know what this building is though. No idea what that is yet. Yet again in Sentosa, which this area is highly reminiscent of because it's more flat, it's more like seaside resort sort of dealy. We have the surfboards here, we have the shop houses here, and yet again we can see in the background behind this lettering it is sort of a rocky texture. Sentosa has this thing with these kind of signs where it is just letters, just 3D letters on the floor, right. And I do believe I can find one that is a lot like that one. Let me see if I can find. There we go, Fort Siloso. So yeah, this is my first time seeing this. Yeah, that's cool. And then you have these these neon signs yet again on a seaside resort screams. Well, at least for me, Sentosa. So we drive through this bit. We have a drone show up there. Not sure what that's about. I believe if you try that in Singapore, the government will come after you. Oh, really? Yeah, the government is quite strict with its drones regulation and stuff. Oh, interesting. Okay. As you know, with aquariums, they are not. It's not exactly exclusive to Singapore. I do believe. Is it a Dubai track that also had this, or? Yes, that's the one. Yeah, it's the Dubai track that also had this. I mean, the only thing I can really think of is this kind of walk-through aquarium dealy. Mm-hmm. This is the closest thing I can think about. So there's nothing like that, like properly that, where cars are gonna fit and you're gonna drive like that or anything. No, I don't think so. I don't believe so. To be fair, allowing cars to drive in something like that would be extremely dangerous. Yeah. after looking at this, I sort of thought to myself, what else would I like to see inside this track? So I did talk about the two domes. There are a few other things that I would like to see. One of which is if they chose to include the Louis Vuitton curve bit. There's another very famous, well, not very famous, but there's another more iconic store in Singapore, the Apple Store, which is a floating ball in the water.
Oh Jesus! Had to be Apple,
Right.
of course.
It had to be Apple, and it had to be Singapore. Of course, it's both. This is the Las Vegas Dome of Asia, but yes, that would be funny.
Yeah, preferably with a pear icon or something.
That would be the best. The most the copyright avoider of Apple is the pear.
Yes.
This was something I was surprised didn't exactly show up in this video. Need for Speed Nitro had Singapore track. Need for Speed Nitro is a bit older, so but if you look at it, yet again, there's the iconic Merlion that they chose to include in here, the side here. There's the Singapore flyover over there. This is something I wanted. I thought they would have included. This is the Esplanade. It's a center for essentially arts in Singapore, where maybe like theatre practitioners, they want to put up plays or concerts, orchestras, they want to do a concert there. They would do it in these two domes. So yeah, I thought this is quite an iconic part of Singapore. I was quite surprised they didn't really include it here in Asphalt.
Well, I think what we're learning so far from the video, Asphalt Legends, I was gonna say Asphalt Legends. What we're learning from watching that, it's that they're not very willing to add a proper one-to-one replica of anything.
Yeah.
I don't know how it works for Asphalt, but for example, speaking of Forza Horizon 5, where they did some stuff from Mexico and whatnot, I did notice that. But they even talked about how they needed to get permission from the government to replicate monuments and things like that. For example, here in Mexico, there's this famous pyramids. And in order to get permission to replicate them and put them in the game, they had to get permission. And on top of that, the government, or at least whatever entity that gave the permission for that, specified that people cannot ride on top of the pyramids. They cannot be touched. Mm-hmm. That was one of the things that I guess the conditions that they added, and that's how it works in the game. You cannot touch the pyramids. But I'm thinking if maybe there's something like that, and that's why in the case of Asphalt, they were, instead of trying to replicate things so that they look exactly like they do IRL, we're just gonna do our own version that looks kind of inspired by it, but it's not quite the same.
In Singapore, as far as I've seen, they seem, yet again, because Singapore is more tourist oriented in terms of the economy. I mean, I'm pretty sure, as far as I know, that Singapore would be glad to let games use their own, use the Singapore itself as the setting for their games. I mean, hell, Singapore exists in Call of Duty, so I'm not surprised. And I think it may not be on Singapore's side, but it may be a disagreement on Asphalt's side. Maybe they'll have to pay royalties to the thing, or ensure perhaps somehow that it results in an increase in tourism statistics, and maybe Asphalt isn't able to promise that. So I think it may be just a thing on Asphalt's side. Yet again, all of this is just it's just theorizing on my part. I haven't actually looked into the copyright issues yet, but there's one last thing I want to talk about. There's this thing that Singapore quite prides itself on. It's our Changi Airport air traffic control. Yes. Mm-hmm. So it's this structure over here.
Oh, okay.
I didn't really see any of that in here, I don't think. Yet again, waiting on another possibly showcase, or hell, maybe even if I have to wait for the release, I will, and do a proper commentary on it.
Well, that's definitely very informative, because there were a bunch of things that in no way I could have even begun to search myself. So it's good to have your perspective from being there. I'm just really glad that you took the time to explain this, to give us a bit of a tour of what things could be, because otherwise I would be completely oblivious to it, and in no way I could have found any of it. So, Pixo, thank you very much for all this tour, man. I appreciate you for taking the time and showing this to me. Any last words to the rumors out here?
Any last words? Well, if I'm not mistaken, you do now have a members feature up there now, don't you?
Oh, yes, I do.
Well, if those who can afford to support it, please do, because as far as I know, DBT really does put his all into making these kind of videos, especially taking his time out to do this with me as well, just so that he can get a better idea on this track. So that's all I really have to say. Thank you so much again for having me on.
All right, no worries, Pixo. Thank you so much for the shout out to the memberships. People, sign up for it. So there you have it. That was my conversation with Pixo regarding the representation of Singapore in Asphalt Legends Unite, which should be coming in a little over a week from now, 10 days, something like that. I don't know. The point is, if you enjoyed this video, please hit the like button, subscribe to the channel, and just like Pixo mentioned, if you can support me and want to do so, please consider joining the room membership. Alright, that's gonna do it for today. Thank you for watching, and I'll see you on the next one. Bye bye.